So I finally got around to playing Rez Infinite, which is the reboot of the original title from 2001, Rez, which originally appeared on the PS2 and even the Dreamcast. And at release, the critics enjoyed it, but it was the fans that really came out in full force. So much so that obviously a full-fledged reboot in Rez Infinite in 2016 felt fully justified. This time around, the critics were much more on board, but it was the fans who actually thought that this title maybe hadn't aged as well as everyone had thought. And to be honest, I kind of am with them on this one. Right now, though, it's time to ask the all-important question: how does it play today? It's not like a rhythm game in the way that you probably are familiar with. The gameplay isn't built around the rhythm. The gameplay creates the rhythm. So it's a bit of a weird inversion on the rhythm game, and I actually like that idea. I think that novelty is probably the most interesting thing about the game, especially when you consider that the original game obviously came out in 2001. I mean, that's pretty revolutionary. Viewing it through that lens, almost every part of the game actually seems really, really impressive, from, you know, the visuals and the graphics and the soundtrack and the sound design. But when you play it today, personally, the game just hasn't aged that well. The main gameplay loop just felt really basic, very one note for me, pardon the pun, but essentially you've got this crosshair, and it's quite a generously sized crosshair, which is good, thankful for that. And basically you hold down X as you move that cursor across the screen, and any enemy that gets caught in those crosshairs, you lock onto, and you can lock onto, I think, up to 8 targets at once, and then you let go of X and it fires off all your projectiles and you take down enemies that way. And for the first 10-15 minutes, that seemed like a fun idea. It just wore thin really quickly, this idea of constantly moving the cursor around the screen while holding down X to catch as many enemies as you can, and essentially you just rinse and repeat that. You just do that over and over and over again, and after a while it really just felt exhausting. I honestly just got tired. It just felt like a slog. I think that kind of goes to another point there in regards to the combat and just how noisy the screen is at all times. There's just so much going on there. There's usually so many enemies, and it's hard not to feel disoriented a lot of the time while you're playing the game, and it's hard not to feel like you don't know where to target, what to target first, what the best strategy is, other than that kind of almost the equivalent of like button mashing approach. And that just became really, really mindless. I almost feel as well like with the cursor, it could maybe move a little bit faster as well. As I said, when you're dealing with so many enemies, it almost felt like at times the cursor just couldn't keep up. I just didn't know what the hell was going on most of the time. I felt like I was just doing things. You know, I was just doing things and going, okay, I guess that's the thing I meant to do here. And that's doing something. I'm not sure what, but I guess I'll just keep doing that until something happens, and hopefully something will, and then it would, and you'd be like, okay, I guess let's move on to the next thing. Each level has a unique piece of music that is being created by a different artist, but it's, again, very much a product of the times. You know, this genre, this style of music was very big in the early noughties, but today sounds quite minimalistic. And when your game is built on music, that needs to be the big selling point. It has to be banger after banger after banger. And again, in 2001, these would have been bangers. These would have bloody brought the house down for sure. But we've come a long way since making this kind of music in the EDM, you know, electronic music scene, and I find it hard to go back to this kind of music today. I will say that as you get towards the end of the game, the very last level is easily the most enjoyable part. It kind of departs from the game's style, its look, its sound in this really like significant way. It breaks away and feels genuinely unique and different to what you've experienced up until this point, and your interactions with the enemies and how defeating them impacts the soundtrack is more creative, more deeply felt, and I think the song, especially for that last level, is leagues ahead. But again, eventually as you delve deeper into this level and you get towards the end and you take on the final boss, it just goes on and on. There is an additional level which is called Area X with completely overhauled visuals. It is breathtaking. It is beautifully put together and has all these wonderful particle effects going on. It feels like it really takes advantage of the PS5's hardware and is quite stunning and impressive. I felt like the music in this section was obviously updated for a kind of more contemporary modern sound, which I found more palatable, to be honest. Rez Infinite is not a game for me. I can see that it might be a game for other people, and I can see that anyone who grew up playing the game is obviously going to have a completely different experience. But for a modern audience, it very much feels like a game that you kind of had to be there for. And if you were there at the time, it was really cool and exciting, and your memory of it will never kind of be tainted in that sense and in that way. But if you're coming at it as a complete newcomer, I think it's going to be a very abrasive experience. I think it's important and it's great to have games like this because there's a clear vision here. There's a lot of artistic merit. There's innovation. There's boundaries that are trying to be pushed. I'm glad to see its success. I just don't quite understand it. What do you think though? Let me know. How wrong did I get this, Rez fans? Hit us up in the comments. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Seriously, it means the world to me. And if you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing, like the video, and hit the bell if you want to be notified about any new videos that get uploaded before anyone else. Here we review games that are at least 12 months old. If you've got a title you'd like me to go back to, let me know. And that could be the next Patient review here on The Patient Gamer. Signing off. Thanks for watching.